All right, I take off my picture. Can please somebody confirm that you can see the slides that I have there?
Yes, Knut. You can put it on
Okay.
slideshow, please. Yeah.
Oh, I tried to put it. Wait, I try again. Okay. Let's see. All right. So again, thank you very much. Innovative technologies for public procurement. We know, and this is nothing new, that technology is in all spheres of our life these days plays an important role, more and more so. But we also know that we are human beings, and there's always this interaction between human beings and technology. Um, Human beings being above the technology and trying to use technology for the best benefits that they can use it for. And this also applies to the area of public procurement. So if we do presentations on how to use technologies in public procurement, we have a tendency to go into a certain hype and to praise the technology and to sell it in a way that the audience would think, okay, we just need to implement it. But we forget oftentimes that the challenge is in the implementation. The challenge is not in the technology. The technology is available. Um, it is about the implementation. And that brings us back to the human beings that we all are. So I thought when preparing the presentation, yes, let us talk about innovative technologies for public procurement and how these technologies are being used and a few examples. But then also maybe at the end of the presentation, just one slide coming back to the reality and talking a little bit about how uh, can that be done? What are the challenges? How can we best implement and use those technologies? Now, since we talk about innovative technologies, I'm sure a lot of you, or if not all, have heard about artificial intelligence and this specific chatbot which uses artificial intelligence, which is called ChatGPT. And everyone can go to the internet and go to chatgpt.com and then enter a question or something they want to know. And this artificial intelligence chatbot would come up with an answer. And it's surprising what these answers are. And so what I tried to do for this presentation is I used actually this innovative technology, ChatGPT, and I just entered how can innovative technologies be used for public procurement. And so I would like to take you into this world of innovative technologies, which is based on the responses of ChatGPT, which reflect the reality um, drawn from millions, trillions of data bytes available in the internet. And once we have come up with a few examples of technologies and where they are used in the countries, I would then bring you back to the world of the reality and discuss a little bit the challenges, as I already mentioned. So if we go to ChatGPT, let me try now to hit this slide. Okay. If we go to ChatGPT and we ask the question, this is what will be the answer. Now, I did this a few days ago. If you go today, the answers may be different, slightly different. Mostly it will still be the same things. But you can see here all kind of technologies that ChatGPT suggests can be used and are being used actually in reality in order to improve public procurement. So we have the blockchain, we have e-procurement systems, which in itself uses technologies, but it was interesting to see that e-procurement systems was actually the first that popped up. Blockchain, artificial intelligence, cloud computing, big data analytics. Some of them are more familiar and others maybe not, like digital twins, for example, smart contracts, and there are other technologies, augmented and virtual reality. Now, if we go into some of these technologies that are suggested here, and we start with e-procurement systems. We all know that most of the countries throughout the world, if not all, have looked into the use of e-procurement for public procurement to improve the public procurement ecosystem. And some countries, they are much ahead. They have already implemented multiple generations of e-procurement systems. Other countries, they are at a stage to implement e-procurement. And if I'm not mistaken, Eswatini is one of those countries who are beyond the strategy and who are going ahead now to develop and implement e-procurement platforms. And again, another group of countries is still more at the beginning, and they deal with planning the introduction of e-procurement. Now, the examples that were suggested by ChatGPT here from the and I took two different questions. One is the Western world, and one I tried to focus on Africa. As you can see here, the countries that were suggested, and it basically reflects the truth. Um, Although if we look at South Africa, I'm not aware of a fully functional e-procurement system right now, but in South Africa, they also have e-procurement systems at regional level, like the Western Cape government, for example, that they have been using already successfully. Um, Maybe one country that is missing here is Mauritius, and there might be other countries. So those were the first 10 that were suggested when I entered the question. If we look at the next technology, which is blockchain, this was also a big hype a few years ago. Um, so blockchain technology uh, promotes transparency and security. Those are the most important things for public procurement, where it is not easy, if at all, to change records that are in the blockchain. A blockchain is nothing else than a public digital database, so to say, which is very much decentralized and which records transactions across many computers throughout the world. And that makes that the record cannot be changed retroactively without the change of all subsequent blocks and the consensus of the network of computers that host this decentralized database. So it's a pretty supporting technology specifically for the area of procurement. And we see also that there are some examples of blockchain available, like the recording of procurement processes in the blockchain, actually to provide tampering with all the records and to increase the efficiency and trust and accountability. And the country examples here are Estonia, Switzerland, South Korea, and Singapore. In Tunisia, they have been testing the blockchain for the financial area within public procurement, where it is about financial transactions like payments. And here, the payment process is supported through blockchain. And in the United States and in India, they use blockchain technology for tracking supply chains and for contract performance and for verifying the authenticity of procurement documents, um, which which is a big issue. And we had a presentation when there was a big hype of this whole blockchain technology a few years ago, when the General Service Administration of the United States uh, they told us and presented a pilot project that they had implemented where they used the blockchain in order to check historical information of bidders, so that the bidder did not need to submit all these information anymore with each bit about their experience, about their annual turnover over the last years. This was all in the blockchain. And the e-procurement system, just when they focus on the name of a bidder and they did the evaluation, the system would check in the background whether the information was true, whether the information that was indicated, whether they met the minimum annual turnovers and the requirements for experience in previous works, for example. And the result was that the whole evaluation process was cut down from 3 weeks to 3 hours. Um, this was quite a successful example. Now, if you asked, okay, if this is so successful, why why don't we see it elsewhere in the world in other countries? Well, I will come back later to this on my last slide. We see it. We see that countries are trying and testing, but it has not been the case that we could say all the e-procurement systems nowadays are based on a blockchain. And again, as I said, I will provide some reasons on my last slide in this context. Looking at the next technology, artificial intelligence, and I already mentioned to you one example is this ChatGPT, which basically is a combination of artificial intelligence and chatbot, where the machine, the computer, can interact basically like a human being. So again, this is an artificial intelligence is so much more able to go through large data sets than human beings. The artificial a machine, a computer can do that in an instance, and then this can be used, this ability, in order to do, for example, predictive analytics and which help procurement professionals to make informed decisions. And artificial intelligence can also be used for virtual assistants in order to automate routine tasks, which includes document review, vendor scoring, and this would free up time for more strategic activities. And again, we had the example in the US, which I just mentioned on the blockchain. In combination with that blockchain pilot project, they also applied artificial intelligence and virtual assistants in order to write bid evaluation reports from all the bids and from all the analytics that they had done. Those bid evaluation reports, they used artificial intelligence in order to complement and complete them. Other examples include the European Union. They have a market research tool which is based on artificial intelligence. They analyze market trends and supplier capabilities. Um, and we could hear very impressively from the story before what it means to do a good market analysis. I think the name was Esppra, who was sent out with the melons and came back and did a spot-on market analysis. So that in future can be done by artificial intelligence. Um, there are more countries, and these are just examples, again, which were suggested by GPT, like in India, where procurement transactions are analyzed for fraud detection. The same in Cote d'Ivoire, where artificial intelligence, based on the data submitted as part of the bids, based on the data available in e-procurement systems, um, learning algorithms will be able to identify certain patterns and deviations which may imply fraud and corruption, collusion, and things like that. And an example here is if you, for example, have a bill of quantities from a works contract, and there are 5 bidders, and you look at those 5 bills of quantities, as a human being, it will not be easy to identify certain patterns. And artificial intelligence can help identify these patterns in a second. For example, if those 5 bills of quantities, each of the unit prices in all these bills differentiates by a certain percentage. So all unit prices of bidder one are like 3% more expensive than all unit prices of bidder two. And all unit prices of bidder two again are 1% more expensive than all the unit prices of bidder three. So these are patterns that can be detected, and then you ask, wait a minute, something is wrong here. And yes, in reality, our colleagues from our internal investigative unit here at the World Bank, they have told us about happenings like that, where it was agreed among the five bidders who will win the contract. And then the other four bidders said to the one who wins the contract, which they agreed on, but then you prepare our bills of quantities as well in our bid. We don't want to invest that time if we let you win. And so that bidder generated those Excel sheets with a certain percentage of the unit prices apart. And this was found out um, in an investigation. So it happens, and artificial intelligence can really help to detect such patterns. If we look at the next suggested technology or innovative approach, big data analytics. Data analytics has always been there. We talk about big data analytics. We look at it from really a lot of data being available, different data sets, which allow to go into nitty gritty analytics. And this is important for procurement as well. I remember when I started at the World Bank a little more than 20 years ago, and we started to promote e-procurement systems. Um, a lot of colleagues in the World Bank told me, you should forget about those e-procurement systems. What we need are systems, management systems, where we capture information. So I asked them, so how do you capture this information? And they said, well, somebody has to enter the information, but once it is entered, we have them all and we can do a good analytical work. And then I said, what? But wouldn't it be much easier to first install an e-procurement system and then do the procurement through electronic procurement systems, and in this way automatically capture all the information, rather than creating a system where human beings have to enter each and single information and data. So here you can see that e-procurement systems are a very, very valuable input for big data analytics. And with artificial intelligence and those technologies nowadays, they can even pull data and mine those data from PDF format documents, from Word documents. It doesn't need to be in pure data format, really. So this is all possible. As an example here, Senegal, they use big data analytics, again, to manage procurement risks, including the detection of fraud and irregularities as well. And in Zambia, also the Public Procurement Authority, they want to inform strategic procurement decisions by analyzing data from market trends, supplier performance, and so on and so forth. And interestingly, in Canada, it's the city of Toronto. What they use data analytics for is very interesting because they promote supplier diversity. And in looking into the procurement data related to minority owned and women owned businesses, the city can track and improve the diversity in their supplier base. So that's also a very interesting aspects that technology can be used for. Um, I have a quick example here of our own World Bank dashboard for operational procurement. We have a system which is called STEP, which supports basically the procurement planning and the procurement tracking um, of the workflow of procurement in our projects. So whenever we have projects in the world out there, including in Eswatini, we have the STEP system, and any procurement plans will be entered into the system, and from there any prior review contracts, even post-review contracts will be entered, and the workflow will be done through that system. So it creates a lot of data, as you can imagine, with the many projects that we have. Um, and this is a quick look on such a dashboard, um, which shows you already that a lot of information is available. Um, and this is the dashboard only for the 19 projects that we have in the most southern African countries, including Eswatini, Lesotho, Botswana, Namibia, and South Africa. And you have different indicators here that you can measure. It is just of setting up those indicators, getting hold of the data, and then generating these nice slides, analyze the data basically, which then help to see, oh, where is a bottleneck? Where do we need to focus our work on? Um, we see here the lack on implementation of plans on the left side. There are 623 activities behind schedule out of thousands of activities, but we are then able, I cannot do it here because it's a slide, but in the system itself on the dashboard in real time, you can mouse over the 623 activities, and there you can then open and you will drill down the information and get even more detailed information. What activities are these where you can improve? Here's another example from big data analytics, which the World Bank did in collaboration with the city of Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. Um, we tried to identify potential savings for public procurement. So they looked in the whole data set of the city of Rio de Janeiro, they have an e-procurement system, and then they try to find out what are some of the indicators where we can do something in order to save money. Now for this, the system, the data, you need to have unit prices for all the products that you purchase and the services. So that's one precondition, and they did have unit prices in the database. And then our specialists looked into this together with the city of Rio de Janeiro, and they found out that, for example, 8% can be saved when there is a change of the purchase quantity. And this a major purchase that exceeds 60% of the demand. So that means the aggregation of the demand, so that they have at least more than 60% of the total demand is in one procurement. Then this is a parameter to achieve the savings. Or open tendering, they could achieve 4.1% savings if 100% went through competition. And obviously there was a lot of single source contracts as well. And this continues. It's very interesting. Seasonality. When do you purchase something? It turns out if they distribute more evenly over the year the public procurement contracts, that would result in potential savings. Same with use of framework agreements, bidding time. If they allow more than 7 days to prepare bids, obviously they have requests for quotations where they don't allow that much. They could save 0.2%. Um, and then also the buyer and seller concentration in the market, that they don't always buy from the same company, and there is a better distribution in the market. This all can lead to potential savings in totaling 15.5%. So this is just an example of how data analytics can contribute to make informed decisions basically in the area of public procurement. Here we have the next approach, which is cloud computing. Also something very big hype. Cloud computing, saving a lot of money because you don't have to have your own data center anymore. You put this out in the cloud, the whole application, maybe the whole e-procurement system is in the cloud, all the data are in the cloud. So those solutions, they really are flexible, scalable, and accessible. Um, and one of the areas that users very often are concerned is security. So you don't know what happens if your application and your data is in a cloud. Um, but let me tell you one thing. We did a study a year ago on cloud computing. And when we talk to experts of cloud computing, they all confirm cloud providers cannot afford insecurity. They have to put a lot of money into security to ensure security. Otherwise, they would spoil their own business. So as a result, cloud computing is one of the most safest and securest approach in IT, the use of information technology these days. So that was one of the interesting findings. Now, the European Union, again, they have a huge e-procurement platform, which is using or based on the cloud. In Nigeria, again, the Bureau of Public Procurement, they uh, they have integrated technology into procurement processes, and that includes the development of a cloud-based e-procurement system, which also, if you use such a system in the cloud, it allows you to standardize and streamline the procurement procedures across all government agencies. And in the UK, another example, they have a digital marketplace, which is also based on the cloud. Um, so there are different approaches to the cloud. You can have a government cloud, which ensures you that these are only government applications and government data. You can even open up to a worldwide cloud, so to say. We don't see that so often because if, for example, you in Eswatini, you would say, okay, let's have a cloud-based e-procurement system, and we will use Google or we will use Amazon as the cloud provider. These are American-based companies, and here are some legal implications because in certain circumstances, those American providers might be required to disclose all the data that they host in the cloud to the American government and relevant agencies for security reasons. And this is something probably if you have your procurement data in a cloud, I don't know whether you would be willing to disclose them, to have them disclosed potentially to another government. So these are considerations, some legal implications. But as I said, a cloud can be also restricted to a government applications, and a requirement can always be that the data, yes, they can be in the cloud, but physically the machines which provide the cloud, they have to be in the country itself for legal, in order to avoid any legal implications. Robotic process automation, RPA. Uh, this is something where basically these are software robotics. These are intelligent automation technologies which can perform repetitive tasks of human beings, of human workers, basically, like verifying data, generating certain documents, enter standard data. Um, for example, RPA could monitor um, inventory levels in stock, and then once somebody is running out of stock, some product is running out of stock, the RPA could automatically create purchase orders for that product that is about to run out of stock. So that's a possibility. And examples here include South Africa. They want to enhance the efficiency of the procurement process, and that includes the automation of tasks like compliance checks, bid management, and contract administration. In contract administration, you'll find also in India and in Brazil in those examples, which basically relates to invoice processing, generating invoices, and those RPAs can provide for automated invoice generation. And we will hear a little bit later on smart contracts, which is similar. And by the way, it is not only that you can say RPA is RPA and there's nothing else, no other element, or artificial intelligence is artificial intelligence, it works without any other element. Very often you will find, for example, in smart contracts, which uses several elements of innovative technologies like blockchain, artificial intelligence, RPA, and so on and so forth. Um, that's also a very interesting one, augmented and virtual reality. Um, the basic difference between these are all innovative technologies, and they are used also in the area of public procurement more and more, perhaps more so in the planning and in the contract administration phase. Um, and the fine difference here is that if we talk about virtual reality, you are in a complete virtual world. Whereas if we talk about augmented reality, this is you are still partly in a physical world. Let me give you an example. If you for example plan to build, if you have a gap between some buildings in a city and you want to design a new building, maybe a public office building in between those buildings, so you can bring it on paper, you can even look at it on the computer. But what you also can do, and this is augmented reality, you can use your cell phone. You go to that place, to that physical place. This is the physical world. And you point your cell phone to this gap between the buildings. And then you launch the application that you have. And it will basically project uh, different styles of office buildings into that gap, and you would see it how it looks like in reality. If this is projected into this gap, you see it, you see the real buildings left, right, and on the phone you see then how this building fits in between. This is augmented reality because it still includes the physical real world. Whereas if you did the same in a completely virtual world, you could do it anywhere. You don't need to be there in that physical place, but you could be at home, for example, or in your office, and you have those big glasses on your head, and you will see exactly that spot as if you would be standing there, and you could also then project the same thing, different patterns of office buildings into this gap in order to see how it would look like. Um, there are some examples. We don't find it too often. It's at the very beginning. And as I said, it's more for the design or for site visits, for contract implementation, um, for those physical construction sites to see how the progress is in contract implementation. Nigeria, Kenya, Rwanda, Ethiopia, they all have offer some examples for that. In Rwanda, interestingly, it's for product demonstrations. They use augmented reality. In the other countries, it's more for urban planning in the phase before the procurement, and then in the design phase, basically. But also then in Ethiopia, for example, where progress updates on physical construction sites can be monitored as part of contract implementation. That's an interesting technology. I think we will see this maybe more often in the future to come in public procurement. Chatbots and virtual assistants. This is pretty much known also in real life. Chatbots, for example, a computer program which simulates human conversation with an end user. So if you want to get some advice, you pick up the phone and you call an public entity. Oftentimes you talk to a computer, and this is exactly what chatbot can be. You ask a question, they will give you an answer. Similarly, a virtual assistant, you all know Amazon, Alexa, Apple Siri. Um, this can be used for automatic report generation. I mentioned already the example, virtual assistants in the US, where bid evaluation reports were generated through that and could reduce considerably the time of the whole bid evaluation process. Um, Examples here suggest that in Kenya, they use virtual assistants in the public procurement information portal when there are inquiries that are related to upcoming tender opportunities or procurement procedures, so that this virtual assistant would guide you through the relevant information and provide the relevant guidance. Uganda has done a similar thing, procurement related inquiries and helping users understand the procurement procedures and access to tender information. And same thing also in Tanzania. And then we have smart contracts. Now, a smart contract, I mentioned already, it's a combination of several technologies, so to say, where you use blockchain, and you also use like virtual assistants, artificial intelligence. These are self-executing contracts, and the terms basically are written in software code. And the contracts are automatically enforced and executed when certain conditions are um, complied with. And so then this would trigger an automated process for the next step. Um, so this smart contract is nothing else than a computer program or a software or transaction protocol um, for automated execution of a process. Um, have we seen it? Not really that often in public procurement yet. And examples here include Estonia. They do this to automate the execution of procurement agreements, including payment releases and compliance checks, but it's not used throughout public procurement in Estonia. Again, these are certain small projects that they are playing with, piloting in order to test, and then maybe later on, if it proves um, it will be rolled out on a broader agenda. Same in India, um, for streamlining the procurement process and automating the contract execution. In Kenya, they have initiated a blockchain-based project to do this, and the project also includes the use of smart contracts to manage tenders and contracts more effectively, and also in South Africa. Now, digital twins, I think that's the last one I would like to share with you before we go back in the world of reality. Um, Digital twins, this is something new also at the beginning, specifically in the area of public procurement. Um, there are some examples of digital twins, again, in South Africa, Kenya, China, Finland. This is all um, let me give you how to say it's a virtual model of a physical object, of a physical system or a process, and then over the life cycle of that object or process, real-time data can be used in order to do simulations projecting into the future what would be the outcome. And this you can do continuously over the lifetime of this project. So basically you create a digital twin. um, the Tesla cars. Each Tesla car has a digital twin. This is all automated, and this allows Tesla to project into the future certain maintenance schedules for each car, or certain improvements that could be done also for future developments. So this is basically digital twins. And it is interesting in Finland, the last example here, in Helsinki, the city of Helsinki, they use digital twins to simulate procurement workflow for public infrastructure projects. That is a very interesting example. I couldn't unfortunately get more information on that one, but I really would like to follow up with Finland government and see with the city of Helsinki and see where they are currently and what the plans are. Um, all right, back to reality. So disruptive technology reality. I just wanted to go through that last slide uh, to uh, to share a few observations to bring us back to the reality, but not bring us totally completely away from the innovative technologies, but just give some considerations here that are all based on experience that we have seen. This is no longer chat GPT. This is reality. It's real, the experience. I actually, before the meeting, I entered into chat GPT also some of the challenges in using technology in public procurement. And the answer was exactly some of the things I want to touch upon, like complexity, cost, and so on and so forth. And also, of course, capacity, human capacity. Now, I mentioned at the beginning, we talk about technology on the one hand, very innovative technologies, and the evolving of these technologies will continue. We don't know what will be the world will be able to do in 20 years from now with technology. We hear about implanting chips into human beings and all of that. We can only hope that this will all be used for good purpose. Um, and then we have people. And we will also hope that the people will always be the dominant side and dominate technology. If technology starts to dominate people, there are some movies out there, if you watch them, it's really, you really get afraid of what could happen in that context. So it's people and technology. And we need to be mindful, first of all, what we have seen in many, many countries, um, specifically starting with e-procurement developments and then also trying to continue to use new technology as part of those e-procurement systems, um, is lack of leadership. Lack of leadership at very high government level. We have seen countries where the president of a country or the minister at minister level at least, they promote uh, technology in public procurement. And this is the right thing to do. And promoting means not only that a leader stands up and says, we will do this, this is very important, I will support my teams, but also to allocate the resources that are needed for that. And very often, I myself have been in several countries, sitting in a ministry of finance, even having the chance to talk to a minister of finance, and then asking and talking about the priorities in the area of public procurement, and e-procurement always is one of the priorities. And then they say, but we don't have money. So this is something which, if this is a priority, there must be money for that. Anyway, so leadership also needs to think of the resources that are needed, resources in terms of money, and resource in terms of capacity development, institutional capacity. It doesn't help if you hire a few expert consultants in order to help you implement something, and then they will leave again, and you don't have retained this institutional capacity, how to manage a system, how to further build on that system in future. Yes, even how to replace that system if need be after a few years. So building institutional capacity is very, very important. And we all know it's not easy to retain IT expertise in a government. So that requires the right incentives to keep and retain people, to have an IT expert who says, you know what, I know that I can earn quite a bit more money in the private sector and I have some offers, but I like it here. I love it here in my government job. I want to contribute further to the government and to my country. So if you provide the right incentives, and that brings us back and closes the circle to leadership, they have to think of that. They really have to think of that, in order to ensure that the incentives are provided to retain those people and keep the institutional capacity. Now, one of the questions is, does e-procurement need innovative technologies? Does e-procurement need any of those technologies that we have just seen? You could almost answer no, it doesn't. Um, so I don't want to say that you should forget about innovative technologies. What I would like to encourage is more, if you plan to introduce an e-procurement system, take into consideration the current level of capacity, what can be absorbed in terms of new technology, and factor this in. And if you think, okay, let us have an e-procurement system which is based on conventional technologies, and there is no innovative technology right now, but there is a door open to bring in innovative technologies and add them in the future, this is also okay. This is very much okay. And e-procurement in itself, based on conservative technologies, is already okay because it already helps you to automate, to be more transparent, and to be more efficient. And yes, you can be more efficient if you implement certain innovative technologies. You don't need to do it now, it can be done later. And then one of the very important things is also, it should not be done at a broader level for the whole e-procurement system. to use artificial intelligence for all the processes all of a sudden. This is too much of complexity, and that brings me to the next point. Technology always adds complexity. This was also a response of the chat GPT for implementation challenges. So think big and start small. I told you about the example of the General Service Administration in the United States. When we asked them, wow, you achieved a lot of stuff, that must have been very expensive and very complex to implement all this technology. They smiled and they said, no, it was not. It was just a small pilot project which cost us $200,000, and we did it as a pilot. And now the next step then would be to bring it more and more into reality, into the systems that we have here in the US. So think big and start small, because technologies are complex, and more so those innovative technologies. And then technology has its price. This is also clear. Um, so keep this in mind. And here, if I say technology has its price, if you have a small pilot project, it may not cost that much. But if I take the example of blockchain, for example, blockchain, one of the things that blockchain hasn't been really implemented that much as maybe expected a few years ago, specifically in the area of public procurement as well, is the high price that you need. You need a lot of power. You need, and this is not good for the environment again. So there are some downsides to it which have to be factored in when making those decisions in which technology to invest. And last but not least, one of the most important ones, you cannot outsource trust to technology. Now, public procurement is really important when it comes to trust, or the other way around, better to say, trust is so important in public procurement. Trust between the buyer and the seller, trust between the public at large, the citizens, the taxpayers, trust in the government, how they use the taxpayers' money to do the procurement. So you cannot outsource this to technology. And what I want to say is, it's again, the people are the dominant part here. And yes, you can, for example, use technology to build trust if you have red flag indicators, if you identify fraud and collusion patterns. And if you show to the public and be transparent about that, they will acknowledge that. They will trust. They will trust in the system. But on the other hand, we know people are people. Where there is a will, there is a way. At the same time, if somebody wants to be corrupt, they will find a way to be corrupt, even if you use the most innovative technology of these days. They will do it, they will bypass somehow. So technology cannot solve all the problems. It's still the people behind. All right, I talked a lot. I'm sorry for that, but I just wanted to go through this, through these slides and through this presentation. I would like to thank you very much for your attention. Um, and I think I will stop sharing now and be available for any questions or comments that may be submitted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nate, for that insightful presentation. And just to assure you, the team was very attentive. They were taking notes while you were talking. I'm sure somebody wants to ask something. Mr. Nate. Okay, it's fine. No problem. Now. Hey, okay. Any question for or a comment for Mr. Nate before? No. Mr. Nitia is going for it's 20 to 5 p.m. So I can understand why there are no questions, but they heard you. So thank you so very much. We appreciate you. All right.
I thank you very much, and I wish you a nice remaining day, good success with the symposium, and hopefully I will have the opportunity to visit your beautiful country in the future. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, okay. Um, I actually have a 1 hour interview that I need to do with the Minister of Labor, the Cabinet. It is him calling me. Nabe kwake soshayelwe nguminister then. No problem. Okay, Mr. CEO. One last item. Itawentiwa CEO and I'm sure na PSD chairperson. And congratulations, Mr. Solofelo, for that gold medal lebuya kuma Olympics from Tebogo. Yeah.
Angatoma chairman besingemalaTulu noma khona lapha for pictures purposes. Ngicabanga ngibambe nalitafula. So and also bengicela spreadsheet some my spreadsheet if you can beam it. Siyabonga, this is going to be a surprise event bengakabhalwa ukuthi itabi khona namuhla. I believe it. Yes, so a lot has been said about compliance and how we are trying to influence the space in procurement in the country. Funny enough, I think 2 weeks ago, the PSC chairperson was not so conversant about myself or the agency. But for some reason, he had to point at me in parliament and say, "Awuzokhuluma wena CEO, kahle kahle yini umsebenzi wenu?" So that is where I took the chance, and then he asked me to speak for a minute. I spoke about 10 minutes. But thank you that he didn't stop me. But one of the things that we are looking into, the issue of compliance, chairperson. Bese siyacela umcelele Dumo phephile angisondela ngala. And then we try to look into the compliance as isichubeka sisebenza. So I noticed ukuthi beyingasiyo le beyikahle. Masibuka the previous, please bring. Nasibuka the previous years sibonile ukuthi the sibonile ukuthi i-compliance yethu beyingasihambeli kahle, tinombolo betingasitijabulisa. Out of 93 procuring entities, ngicela ngilandele lesinye not this one. Out of 93 procuring entities, imhlonishwa bokhanza ukuthi babanje ngi-24 laba submitter. Kuye ngekuya lo mnyaka olandzelako babe ngi-11. But now we are sitting at around 63. Even though mawubuka le spreadsheet ungangiyela le emagameni. Other side. Now this is how we try to do our presentation. Ekuqaleni kuqala i-ministry. Now bese kulandela ama-parastatals noma ama-procuring entities la below that particular ministry. If unaka ungiciphisela kancane nje le screen. If utawunaka mhlonishwa chairperson we-PAC, onke ama-ministries akho are red. Lokusho ukuthi akacomply onke. Now ungabuka nje na Ministry of Commerce u-red, sibuka ngaphansi Ministry, okay, Ministry of Finance, singabuka Ministry of Health lapha ngetulu. Asenime Ministry of Finance. Sichubeke sibuke siye letulu. Now one of the reasons why you'll find ukuthi umunye green le column esekuqaleni ye procurement plan for the year. So let's just go in nyalo mhlonishwa ukuthi mawuletha i-tender uthi asikureviewele. Asiyibuki nje nangabe u-red. Noma ngabe ishesha kanganani. Awucabanga ke mhlonishwa seyithenda ye King's birthday. Sithi if amangena enzambama leyo khanza ukuthi idinga ngakusasa. Sithi ke thina sifuna i-procurement plan, sifuna i-first quarter, i-second quarter, i-third quarter, i-annual report, sicela ne-contracts reports for the year. Lekunye ke sitakulandzela nyaka lo tawugcina sesiyacetha. Lokutawulandzela ukuthi kulomnyaka lotako kude lengutsintsako mhlonishwa nangabe leyo entity ide procurement office. Makude procurement officer nje angitsinzi lutho. And what we'll try to do is that we'll try to let them know in time so that they budget for the positions. Kutawuchubeka lapho khona ngeke sitsinzele for makude i-procurement unit le properly staffed. Now, but ke namuhla sicela ukuthi simane sito awada. Ngicela nisonze nemakhamera konke nje kube proper. Sito awada le bamane bazama kusibambisa njengoba ubona nje ukuthi some of them banema green lines lokusho ukuthi ba comply bawufike ekugcineni. Kunemajaji ke la kende lo msebenzi lo. Angathi nekuthi ngibani lesim awadako namuhla. Angaboni nami ngoba bekunelenza bekuthi kufuneka i-transparency nabo accountability angisho. Yes. Bengicela ke ningiphe ekucala. There's only 10 that we have. It's only 10 that we have for the beginning. Inhlangano sitawubona khona la. Ngicela umbekela phasi bese ngithatheni. Okay. Okay. Category A wethu bathi best compliant. Laba nje ngilokuthi nakuthiwa mhlonishwa unetinkinga ne-procurement ungabuki nekubuka ngakubo. Indlela laba comply ngayo. Wekucala ngi-Eswaka. Aw Eswaka akekho. Cela simbekele la. Cela ukuyisela la kathi. Abona abantu ababalekako sebabanjiwe. Nalona ngoyi. Nike best compliant. Lo munye best compliant ngi-Eswatini Bank. Nishaya itandazo afike lapho phela yini umona. Bese lapho. And that one? Spill category A.
Yes,
Best.
best.
Yabona ke lenzaba le. Ngeke kube kulo kade nimhlonishwa. Bengeke ngilibite igama leli. Lo mnye lo best compliant kubomasipala kumanzini city council. Sazi bashaya etandla. Hayi kube kulo kade umuntu osathi raise angiqishe leli gama. Sazi imshayele etandla base city council. And letimvo leti you can come through. Tiyabonakala. Manzini is also winning in SADC region ema quality standards. They are winning in SADC. Hayi la kangwane kuphela. They go and represent us and they win. So yabona ke ukuthi letimvo tiyanjengana leti tiyahambisana. Ngomjingi namkhotsana. Manje nina nifuna ukuthi nama standards ngicanga ukuthi ngalapha ndaba ngcono. Asichubeke. And this one. Bese ke lapha mhlonishwa ngilaba bonakale bacatfuta nje kakhulu most improve ngesimane. Imbabane City Council. Simshayele etandla Mbabane City Council. Hayi vele. Yes, siyabonga. Yes. Siyabonga kakhulu. Thank you so much Mbabane nisibongele ekhaya. Siyabonga mzala. Siyabonga bese siyachubeka salinye category. Ngibheke la. Category A most improved ngu ENIDCS. Enedix. Oh, ukhona Enedix. Yes, in Enedix now most improved. Mm. It's what Eswatini National Industrial Development Corporation. Yes, we can come through. Sabonga kakhulu. Yes. Thank you, siyabonga. Angathi ke mase kuvela ephepheni ukuthi abantu bebawina kusithathu na CEO wakho ningawini ngani. Kubekileka Esppra khona bekade awushilwa tindlebe. Bese lapha ke bebathe siyabuka lapha kuma central government. Abona lokuthi sekutaba inkinga phela ngabe siphinde sibuye siyocela i-subvention ye-government kude lo winile. I-Ministry of Home Affairs niyo le winile kuma ministries aka government. Iwiniswa yini ke nayo? Iwiniswa ukuthi kuphele ama passport njalo nje. Manje nakuphela ama passport sebabanjwa ngilo sochaga lo ukuthi ngithi mina ngeke ngisayine lutho sebaya comply ke mhlonishwa ngaleyo Home Ministry of Home Affairs sicela abantu siyathemba lokuthi kuqhubeka sebathatha komlayela bona bangaze bamele ukuthi sekune King's birthday sekufuneka tidududu abaka comply sekuphele ama passport sekufuneka ama passport abaka comply. Now uyamangala ukuthi uyakomplya bekangathi. Thank you so much sinomphathi. Umphathi wami wakadzeni ke lo. Yes, umphathi wami wakadzeni. And then bese oh vele mhlonishwa ngibuyele emuva la bengisebenza khona kadzeni. Lomnye most improved ngunhlangano town council. There's a story. There is a story with inhlangano town council. Angathi ukuthi sekangaphi bangicela ukuthi ngiyokhuluma neboard ngiyo-workshop. Abana sekuye ngica 10 times. Ngento gcina ngihlale eboardini vele every board meeting. Indlela le bafuna ngayo labasenhlangano ukuthi ba streamline and have the tone from the top lo ukuthi le procurement ingene kuwonke lo mthamo. Siyabonga kakhulu CEO. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your story. We really appreciate. Yes. Yes. Mando. Oh. Bese ke la mhlonishwa uTomangala ukuthi lenye most improved His Majesty's Correctional Services. Sicela sibashayele tandla. Sebahambile siyabonga sibabekela bayeta kusasa ngoba ngibonile ukuthi khona i-item la bayenda kokusasa. Atayo bakhona. Bese wekugcina kuse solo kude solo breaksha tandla awucomply aze ngakhuluma ngacabanga umfundisi wami yabonga ngathi soluhle lushayela abantu bayapronyotha emsebentini awubhadali kweshumi awucomply. Lomnye most improved WCA WCA kuma workload and capacity assessment most improved lesithi nasiba assessor saphinde sabuyela sakhanza sekushintshe kakhulu cala inhlangano nyayo lomunye naye lokhu same level naye inhlangano water services nishaye kakhulu base bekugcina laba nishaye nje ungadisappointe ukuthi akwathola lutho nishaye nje noma hlubso ohambile. Ngivile le ndlela bekakhuluma ngayo la sekabala lapha bo what emagama lengazange ngayifunza iHR ngayiphasa but lese kukhulunywa ngathi angisakwadi ufuna ngibikele esikolweni tivule bese katibala. Siyabonga kakhulu ngidawucela kumhlonishwa chairperson we-PAC kuthi nje asiphe nje amagama njengoba wangicela mhlonishwa wathi kimi 1 minute yalo sengimchairperson la nawe ngicela 1 minute.
I almost said good evening, but it's still afternoon. A politician, you never dare win a bob. I could go on for 15, 20 minutes. But in a nutshell, thank you so much, CEO, for facilitating this symposium. We have come to absorb, to develop ourselves. For me, it's been a bonus because I've just got all this capacity building knowledge for free. Just for me to accept the invite, I'm more knowledgeable than I came this morning. And I thought I'll just pop in for today, but for the cream that you brought on, the experts part, I'm definitely coming back tomorrow. And I do understand that as we do our different works in our different portfolios, this is much, much needed. And I think I'll liaise with the CEO to have these experts to give capacity building to our fellow parliamentarians. There's so much that I absorbed, but I loved it when on our first presenter when he said we need to cultivate the culture of integrity. I think that sets the tone. That's the bottom line. We can do anything, but if there's no integrity, honesty, you name them, we'll be doing all this in futility. And at least today, I do understand that there's fellow. And I'm sure even Mohwang is coming from Botswana, the Chief Justice. So I appreciate our cultures and the way we do things in our diversities, but we are all Africans. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you, and congratulations to all the winners today. And as I conclude, CEO, I've picked up even recommendations that will be made in our PAC report. We shall put it in black and white that all these entities, if they haven't got the procurement officers, we won't even look at their reports. I thank you all, and let's meet tomorrow 8:30.
So Ombil. Oh, siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicabanga ukuthi sesicedzile. Ngicabanga sesicedzile colleagues, besingathanda ukuphinde sinigcine sinibhukele nilale. But-ke lokho sidakwenda uyeva nje i-PAC ukuthi iyasho itawugcina ithi ngeke ibuke ama-reports nawude procurement itawuphinde ithi next time yanilalisa i-PAC lokuchubeka. Siyabonga kakhulu. Ngicabanga ukuthi asesikhona khona LinkedIn angade uba akavuli nangemthandazo, akavuli nange-moment of silence. But-ke ngicabanga ukuthi khona labala laba batawutshela maka singavala umhlangano ngaphandle kwemthandazo. Director PEU, thank you so much Make for coming. Thank you so much. We really appreciate. Ngicela la ngase ngiyabuka. Chawuke nekuthandaza. Cela umfana mfundisi asivalele.
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you for such a gathering. We thank you for the knowledge that has been imparted and absorbed in this meeting. We pray, Heavenly Father, for traveling mercies as we go to our respective places. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.